Welcome to the Kent Lapp Podcast.
So where I'm coming from here with this drug thing, I'm very interested in pattern recognition. Like, okay, so this happened. You do this activity and you get this result, and then you have this outcome, and then over here you have this activity and this result, and that's different outcome. But then you have all these cases. You can start to sense like some patterns, like what's working and what's not, kind of generally. Like that's always been super fascinating to me. Performance optimization, very, very interested in, you know what I mean? Like, and I don't mean like steroids if you're trying to, beef yourself up, but, performance optimization, thinking clearly, performing properly, your body functioning as it should. Like I think of, it's one of the reasons I care about health and fitness probably as much as I do is because I think of it in terms of like your body's the horse and your mind is the rider. You know what I mean? Like if you're not taking care of that horse, aka your body, like what that affects everything that you do. Let's say you're a pastor and you're not taking care of your body. Guess what? You're lethargic. That's going to affect your study. It's going to affect those things. If you're a business leader, you're not taking care of your body. It has an effect on your mind. It just does. So just in terms of like performance optimization, natural remedies. This one, I'm going to forever owe my wife a debt of gratitude here with this because she was like, I did not grow up thinking this way. But how can you, if you have a problem going on in your life or your body or your system, whatever it is, like how can you use natural remedies to fix that? That should be like the first thing, the first thing, as opposed to what kind of man-made substance or what kind of a drug, like a prescription drug or, that type of a thing, can you input into your body? Like, let's first look at the natural remedies, and that's, I think it's hard to have a decent discussion on some of these drugs classified as, air quotes drugs, without being open to some of the natural remedies that they do have, like it or not. Like, you don't have to agree with me here. They do. Like, it's proven, some of them, not all of them, but some of them.
Sure.
Mental health. This is a big one.
Huge.
Big one for me. I'm very interested in this. We know so much about the human body now. It's very fascinating. But the mind, the brain is still the Wild West.
Totally.
We do not understand that thing, man. We do not understand that thing very well. I mean, we're taking leaps and bounds. I mean, golly, I was watching Elon Musk on Joe Rogan's podcast last week.
I saw that too.
Oh man, did you listen to that whole podcast?
Yeah, about the little
the neural net. Oh man, that neural net it sounds pretty exciting, to be honest.
It does,
and maybe a little scary. So obviously we're taking leaps and bounds forwards with understanding the brain, but it's still very misunderstood. What's the term? Not misunderstood, but it's not understood to the extent that I think we're going to understand it in the future, right. Lord willing. But mental health is it's of high interest to me because I struggle with it personally, from time to time, and I've struggled with it at times deep enough to create a very deep sympathy or empathy for those that struggle with it basically all the time.
Right.
And we'll talk about how some of these drugs help with mental health. So those are the things that make me interested in this conversation. But then the second part is, and this is like the even more at a deeper level, because drugs and the war on drugs and institutional racism are tied together.
Deeply.
They're deeply tied together. And the first time I heard this was, for sure in the last 2 years. And it had to do with cannabis. And there was an article or somewhere I was reading that just kind of mentioned, some of the rule or some of the U.S. laws around cannabis being kind of born out of racism. Mm-hmm. And I got to be honest with you, I'm not proud of this, but the first probably 2 or 3 times that I heard that or read it, I just read right over it because I felt like I didn't know, And so there was a part of me that just was like, I don't think so. Like they're saying that because they want that to be true. They're saying that to advance their own cause. They're saying that to, give some ammunition in their cause of, in the case of cannabis, maybe, legalization in all of the states or whatever. But there's no way like a law about cannabis back in the 60s or whenever would have had anything to do with racism. Like that was my reaction to that the first 3 or 4 times that I heard that or read that. And I was very wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I was very wrong, dude. You can't have a conversation about the war on drugs without pulling in race.